Hey everyone, welcome to Writer's Corner. I'm 17-year-old writer Noah Barfield, author of that action fantasy novel Legendland, and today I have a very special guest with me.
My name is Abigail, and I'm also 17. And it's my first video, but with no having done this a lot, I think I'm gonna be okay.
Well, you'll be good because we're actually going to talk about something Abigail is very familiar with and which I know very little about, which is why she's actually on here. Um, we're going to talk about fan fiction because I think it's kind of an important first starting step thing for beginning writers or people who have any interest in writing. So we're just going to cover that. So anyone who's ever thought about writing fan fiction at all or has no idea what it is, stay tuned because we'll explain it all, or Abigail will. Now, a little bit about me. I've always wanted to be a writer. I've been writing since I was a kid, actively pursuing it for a long time. Just so long. I've been writing forever. And I've been working on Legendland since I was 14, so for 3 years now, it's my current novel. So, but I've said this like to so many people. So why don't you talk a bit about yourself? Because most people have never seen your face here.
Well, I've been story making ever since I can remember, both fan fiction and original. But I didn't actually start writing anything down till fourth, fifth grade. And on the website I used, fanfiction.net, I have 11 fanfictions up on there, and 3 of them I am currently working on, and 5 of them I have finished.
Wow,
So.
that's kind of putting writers to shame there, finishing stories one after the other. 3 of them ongoing.
Not right in one after the other. I finished one and I put it up right away. There's only like 3 chapters for it, but
Right. Well,
there's like 20.
what are you doing? Oh, I'm working on a book. What about you? Basically 3 books at once. You know. So that's all. That's all.
It takes less time though. It takes less time.
Okay. Why don't you just like really briefly cover those 3 that you're working on, and then we can really dive right into fan fiction.
Well, one of them is a Marvel add-in. It's called Country Lass, and it has my favorite character that I've created in it. That later. A Turtle's Heart is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle human alternate universe.
Mm.
And Sentoki is a little more complicated. It's a sequel to one of my finished ones, and it's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle alternate universe in like a feudal Japan-like setting. So it's
that's
they have their own country and everything. It's awesome.
Turtle Country, literally.
Sort of.
All right. Well, kind of through a few, besides Japanese words that most people don't know, you threw a few words like add-ins and crossovers and stuff. So those kind of sound like types of fan fiction for someone who like knows absolutely zero. Like assume all our viewers know nothing about fan fiction because they obviously know other stuff probably. So why don't you talk a bit about fan fiction, some of the things you might encounter. Just give us some good basics.
Okay, well, as you mentioned, there are types. The add-in that I mentioned is like someone asking what happened between book A and book B, like because there's obviously a break there.
Right.
So that kind of fan fiction fills that in. An alternate universe is where you can have alternate endings, different character personalities, and like a new setting or a different world.
Right.
Crossovers can have 2 or more fandoms that actually meet, because in original works, they're never going to meet each other.
Right.
But you can have that happen. And
awesome.
A series, pretty much like an original work,
right.
is a continuing story. And there are two things that I kind of piece together that I kind of have my own name for them. They're after stories and pre-stories. They're like prequels and sequels to like a book. Like you want to know what happened before the book and what happened afterwards, you can use those.
Awesome. Okay. And are there like any verbiage or words that we should know of, like any abbreviations that we're going to go into, and people are going to be saying in reviews, oh, this, and this, and we don't really know what they're talking about. So, like, there any abbreviations or things that we should know about before we dive right into fan fiction?
Yeah. So there's OCs, which are original characters. Those are the characters that you've created, not from the original work that you're making a fan fiction of.
Okay.
OOC is out of character, which means that they have a different personality. They're not the same as in the original work.
All right.
There's there's a few other ones over in there. I don't think I can't think of them at the moment because I don't usually use all of them a whole lot.
Well, that's fine. I'm sure we won't encounter all of them should we decide to get on anyway. Okay, but so why don't you? Okay, I have questions, lots of them. But before you begin, say you go to write your first fan fiction on fanfiction.net or whatever. Is there like anything crucial you should put in? Like, because these aren't your own characters, is there anything you should say beforehand to be like, hey guys, don't sue me?
Yeah, there's the disclaimer, which you have to have in there. It's mandatory. It's a rule. Otherwise, like you said, there's going to be probably people at your door saying, you don't own this. So you have to have what you don't own in the story, who owns what you don't own, whether it's more than one person or not.
Right.
And then what you have if you do own something in the story, like an OC, like I've mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Great. So, okay, all right. Now we know all the legal stuff. So why don't you explain a bit what an OC is? Because, or like original character, yeah, but like, okay, specifically, I guess, like, what are the rules for one, like, whenever you make an OC a main character? Like, can you do that?
Yes, you can. An OC can pretty much be any type of character. They can be a hero, they can be the villain, main character, supporting. It's pretty much free to roam for that.
Okay.
And you can even have yourself in the story as an OC, which anybody, I'm pretty sure people would want to do at some point because everybody would want to meet their favorite characters.
Right. I mean, yeah, who wouldn't want to meet Harry Potter in a fan fiction? Possibilities. Anyway, let's stay on track here. I can't daydream too much. Okay, so all right, OCs are original characters. Now, what are we've already covered the types. Now, what about whenever, like, how do you make sure that your OCs don't hog the spotlight too much if that's not what you want? Like how do you keep your OCs from kind of taking control of the story if that's not the desired thing? Like, say you're wanting the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to actually be the focus of the story, and you have a supportive OC. How do you keep them from like hogging the spotlight? Because I don't know about you, but I kind of show favoritism to the characters that I myself make.
Well, usually I have it where there's more like like if I'm doing third person or first person, I have it with the turtles mainly, like it'd be what they're around, what they're doing, and I'd have the OC in it, but I wouldn't have it trained on them too long. And like the story, the plot line would be of what the turtles need to do, not what the OC needs to do. And so if I start getting away from the right focus, then the story doesn't make any sense.
All
so
right.
Then I go back and I change it.
Okay. Well, whenever you're writing a story, can you? Because I've been thinking about some of the different types of the fan fictions that you said. Can you mix two different genres of, like, can you have alternate universe crossover or something like that? I think I used that correctly.
Yeah, those are I think those are the nicest ones because instead of being strictly, okay, this is a crossover, I can't do anything else. That makes no sense. That's stupid. You should be able to have it where there's an add-in crossover or an alternate universe alternate universe pre-story, and
Right.
actually one of them that I finished is this is a mouthful, an alternate universe crossover of another fan fiction.
Mm. Okay,
Yeah.
I think that's important right there. What are the rules when using someone else, or like borrowing or using someone else's fan fiction? Because now you're taking like a fan fiction off of a fan fiction. How does
Yes.
that work?
Uh, well, it'd be safe to ask them, like ask
Hmm.
them, hey, can I use your story? Like you have to say in your disclaimer that they own the original, the fan fiction of the original story,
Okay.
basically. And yeah, and you have to have their permission to be able to take it wherever it goes.
Okay.
And actually, for my AU crossover of another fan fiction, my story starts at their chapter 6.
Okay.
So people would have to, if they want to be fully aware of what's happening,
Hmm.
they have to go to their story and read it. So technically, I'm kind of promoting their story a little. So it
It
helps.
works out. All right. Okay. Well, whenever you're writing a fan fiction, does it help to actually know the subject material? Like, I'm assuming, if you're not a history major, you don't want really, like, you don't really want to write an essay about history and, like, mark it as, like, oh, yeah, I know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm assuming the same thing is with fan fiction. Like, if you don't watch, like, I don't know, like, if you don't watch Marvel movies, like, say they're just not your thing, or, like, you didn't watch Captain America Winter Soldier. I am assuming that you should probably avoid writing a fan fiction about that until you've at least seen the movie.
Yeah, you should definitely write things that you know, because if you have to look up the basic stuff, like what's the lead turtle's name
Hmm.
in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle? If you don't know that, you probably shouldn't write the fan fiction about that.
Okay.
Or so, but if you know about it, but you
Hmm.
want to look up a specific detail, like if you want to go on their Wikipedia and figure out what happened in this certain episode,
Right.
it's okay. But if you don't know the very basic stuff, I'd suggest either watching it, reading it, or just looking for something else.
Right. Okay. And a personal question for you: whenever you write fan fiction for a certain thing, do you feel it brings you closer to the work? Like in general, like writing TMNT fan fiction, do you feel that brings you closer to the characters whenever they're on and you're watching them?
Yeah, actually, whenever I'm writing them,
Hmm.
after actually, whenever I watch something, I tend to think of a fan fiction for it, whether I know very well or not. It just floats into my head.
Yeah.
So it really helps that if I'm stuck on something, if I watch that movie or that TV show, it really helps the ideas flow.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, I'm glad because that's kind of a thing for me. Like, I'm not sure if I would alienate myself being like, I totally do this better than they do. Like, I'm not sure if I would do that. Okay. So we're gonna talk about a few things real quick. For one, I think obviously fan fiction is a very social activity. It sounds like a lot changing, very dynamic, a lot of flow. It sounds like it's important not to take it like too seriously, not to stress out about it too much.
Um,
Um, because you're not trying to get most people aren't trying to get things like this published, and sounds like it would be rare for that to happen. Um,
it's
so
very rare. It's very hard.
so um, what are some being sorry having keeping in mind that it's a social thing. Um, I'm assuming people review. What are
Hmm.
what are some good like as a fan fiction writer? What do you look for in a review? Like, and what should someone not do when reviewing a piece?
For reviews, what I love getting for reviews is critiques, where
Hmm.
it tells me what they like, what they don't like, what I could change. Um, what I also like is questions, like if something is getting across correctly, or I'd even have questions after my chapter for like kind of seeing what they've gotten or what their opinion is on something. Um, and if they show emotion in their review, like I can definitely tell like they understand that this one is sad or that this one is happy, or like how they react to it.
Okay.
But some things I don't like, Two main things that I don't like is flames, which discourages us authors and writers.
Yeah. Don't want to be rude about it. Okay.
And
So
the second thing is just saying like "good job" waiting on the next chapter, because that gives no feedback. It tells you yes, they're reading it, yes, they want to keep reading it, and yes, I'm doing a good job, but they're not going into detail of what I'm doing right or doing wrong or what they want to keep reading.
It's not helping you improve at all. Okay, so I'll ask like one or two questions for you. Do you feel that fan fiction is like a good, important for the beginning writer?
Yeah, I think it's really good because I'm not too great at originals myself, but with fan fictions, I can, like if there's a certain thing I'm struggling with, I can work on that, and then when I get to originals later, it'll really help me. One thing that I'm having a little trouble with originals is how I go throughout it. Instead of just writing it all, the first draft down and then editing it, I do it chapter by chapter. So I'm trying to have it where I keep the reviews that say what I should change, but I don't change anything until I'm all done with it.
Oh, okay. All right.
And it also helps because I'm guessing for originals there's like a certain word limit for some novels.
Well, I mean, it depends on the company that you're with. I mean, you commonly want to keep it around a certain word length for a debut. I kind of break all the rules, so I don't really. I suppose I'm not the best person to ask about that. But commonly, you want to keep at least debut novels around a certain length, and as novels get longer, I mean, they get more expensive, so you're gonna have people recommend certain lengths and such.
Yeah, and one thing with fan fictions though is you pretty much have the freedom to have it as long as you want. There are one-shots, which are a story that's just a chapter long. The chapter will be as long as you want, but you just can't go to a second chapter with it. And Divided for Favor is, I'm on the 41st chapter at the moment. And I'm almost done. There's going to be less than 10 more chapters. But yeah, they can be pretty long. So you can have it as long as you want, short.
Well, fan fiction sounds like it's actually a lot less stressful than starting your own original work, and can be great for someone beginning writing because you have kind of building blocks to start with, and you're not just like, oh my god, I have to write a novel, how do I do this? You kind of have something to work off of. So, last thing before we go, do you have any, some good, last minute tips, recommendations, advice for anyone wanting to begin fan fiction and do the whole writing thing?
Well, it can be easy and it can be hard depending on how you look at it. And it's fun, honestly. It should be looked at as something that's fun to do. It's not something stressful, like you said with original works, to get it done at a specific time or something. It does take practice, though. You're not just gonna one day sit down at the computer and write out a perfect fan fiction. It's not possible.
Okay.
And sometimes you use exercises like role play with others and watching and reading whatever fandom that is. That's important.
Okay.
And you should write about what you know, not what you don't know, as I'm pretty sure we've mentioned earlier, but it's a good thing to bring up again.
Okay.
And just don't discourage about it. If you're not good at the first part and you really want to do fan fictions well, just keep working at it. It's honestly worth it.
All right. I think that's a good note to leave on, some encouraging words, and basically you can do it. So I think that's as good a note to leave on as any. Now, before I go, there's a lot of ways to get in touch with me. My website, we have a contact form. Leave a comment on here. ArcStorm's Facebook and Twitter page. As you said, you're on fanfiction.net. People can get in touch with you there either by leaving a review or if they have an account, I think sending a personal message.
There's personal messages there, and you can review to my stories if you don't have an account. It'll just be a guest.
Okay.
And I can try to talk to you there, although I can't reply anything back like that. And we have pen names on there, if you don't know. Mine is Created to Write.
All right.
So
we'll have links for all of that in the description below. So thanks for being here. Everyone, don't forget to subscribe. If you're at home, give Abigail a hand so that, because this has been great and actually really informative. I know a lot more now than I did before about fan fiction, and I'm slightly tempted to write some. Not sure if I will, but if I do,
if you do, I'll try to review it.
I'll let everyone know if I decide. But thanks for being here, Abigail, and thanks everyone for watching. I hope you've enjoyed and continue to enjoy.